Okay, the biggest news
Uh-oh.
of the entire week.
Okay.
The biggest news
Yes.
is that the NFL is talking about banning the tush push. And I thought of you immediately. Now,
Yes.
first of all, it's been tabled.
I have
There has
heard
not
this, yes.
there's not been a decision made on whether
The tush push has been tabled.
Made popular by your friends at the
Yes.
Philadelphia Eagles.
That's
now,
correct.
I wanted to get your take because I'm assuming that you want this banned because maybe then the Cowboys could beat the Eagles.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Here's the thing. I would say, look, we've had our fair share of wins and losses against the Philadelphia Eagles. And there is nothing that I like better than beating the Eagles. Let's just be clear about that. Nothing better in football than beating the Eagles. However, I will say, I don't care if they ban the tush push. I think it's a little bit of a, if other teams were doing this, like, here's the thing. It's like, they seem to be the only team that can make it work. Right. So I don't know that you should ban something because there's only one team that seems like they can make it work or cares to make it work.
Yeah.
There is an argument that I have heard that I think is a really good argument that basically defensive players have said, we used to be able to do this on defense, right? During point after kicks and stuff like that, we could push people, and we can't do it anymore because they were afraid of injury. And so now that it's on the other foot with offense, I don't know why it's any less risk of injury. So there is
I know is that Jerry Jones,
the NFL.
All I know is that Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, sent a terse letter and said our record against the Eagles before the tush push was a thing was much better than post tush push.
Well,
so we have to do something about this.
Yeah, you lost me at Jerry Jones said.
That's all we can do.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well. Let this old marketing move.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This old marketing. Take it away, boys.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. And I'm Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 474 for Friday, April 4th, 2025. And with me, as usual, is my pal, my colleague, and as a guy, as it turns out, was one of the only ones not discussing war plans on a chat and Signal, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
No, we talked about this before the show that we were not going to make anything political. And here you go. The first mention of anything.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is just objectively, we have a lot of things to talk about with politics this week that are just objectively stupid, that just objectively ridiculous. There's no left or right on this. That was objectively, demonstrably stupid.
Is dumbery a word? Because I want dumbery to be a word because that's the only word that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
For many of the things. And by the way, I was in Germany when the dumbery went down. I'm not responsible in any way for the Signal stuff.
Oh,
I think did you see the CEO of Signal
said
hey, you might automatically get in on one of these chats. You should join.
Such a good news jack. Yeah, such a good news jacking. Oh my God, it was so great. It's like, the chances are that it's a non-zero chance basically that you could get included in war plans being discussed by the US government. So that's a reason enough to join and create an account on Signal.
I had the best first of all, the German people were so nice to us, I have to say. I think
you had to
sorry for us and a lot. Yeah. Oh my God, we had such a great time in Bavaria. But my one interaction, we were at a beer garden, and we got into a discussion with the Germans next to us, and the one guy said, "Hey, can I ask you something? You're president. What's up with that?" Like he said it in German,
Yeah.
and like with the German accent. And I'm like, that's like the greatest question you could ask. What is up
Right.
with that? What is up
Right.
with that?
Did
So,
it was it in German, or did he
no, it
say,
was like with the
yeah,
German.
what's up with
You know,
that?
I
Yeah?
can't do a German.
Yeah?
Yeah,
What's up with that? Yeah?
pretty much. Sprechen Sie Deutsch. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but we had a great time drinking lots of German beer,
Oh,
and
the
had some of the
best.
best beer
That's
I've
the
ever
best.
had. It's right out of the keg, doesn't go through lines. Yeah, it was just, and the we had wonderful weather, and the mountains are just, it's just hard to explain how beautiful a place Germany is.
It's especially where you were. I mean, you know, it
In
is.
Bavaria, yeah,
Bavaria is just. I mean, it's beautiful there. It's beautiful there.
yeah. The only thing I haven't talked to anybody about this, but the one thing I was not aware of is that in Germany, for the most part, it's in Munich specifically, the parking garages close. They don't open until certain times. So if you have an early
Sure.
morning flight and your car is in a parking garage that's closed, it's very hard to get to the airport on time. I would just put that out there just as a, the more you know.
Well, that's yeah. See, that's Germany, right? That, you know, because there are rules. There are rules you must follow. And you know, you will follow the rules. You will absolutely follow whether you want to follow them or not, you will follow the rules.
I think I'm on, honestly, I think I'm on a most wanted poster over there
Yeah, I
by
can
the parking garage,
imagine.
because I had to break into the parking garage to get my car.
I
Uh,
was
yeah.
in the middle of, I think it was Bonn. I was walking through downtown Bonn, by the way, one of the most beautiful little cities there. And I was walking, and there was no cars around. There were like 0 cars around, but the crosswalk was red. And I, like any like other dumb American, right? I'm just going to walk across the street. There's no cars around. I'm just going to walk across the street. Literally, the Germans that were waiting there for the crosswalk started yelling at me. They started yelling at me to not cross the crosswalk
Oh my
against the red
gosh.
light, because that's against the rules. And you just don't do that.
I gotta say, driving in Germany is wonderful because there's the biggest
Oh,
issue
they
that
respect that lane. They
they
respect
they do.
the speeds lanes, right? With that, if you're in the
Absolutely.
left lane and you're not going like 120 miles an
Well,
hour, then you need to get out of that
it's
lane.
it's the passing lane.
Yeah,
You turn the signal on, you pass in the left lane, you get back in. That's it. That's what
that's
everybody
it.
does. And my biggest pet peeve in the United States is you got whoever
Sure.
just hanging out there in the left lane. And that's why traffic, like, you never have traffic issues like that in Germany, because everybody's just pass.
That's right.
And they keep, they keep to the speed limit. And when there's no speed limit, get out of that left lane,
That's
because
right.
there's somebody coming pretty quickly.
That's right.
So,
That's, yeah. And they're driving fast.
but yeah, we enjoyed my time.
That's so wonderful.
It was
What a great
fun.
trip.
I can't wait to go back. The last thing I'll say about it is that one of the breweries that we went to see in Freising, which is north of Munich,
Sure.
they're celebrating their 1000th anniversary in 2040.
Yeah.
Just put that into perspective, folks.
Yeah.
They've been serving beer for 1,000 years, so we have put it on our schedule that we will be back for that millennia anniversary.
That's amazing.
You will.
I mean, well, it's so, I mean, as you tour around Europe, generally speaking, and you start seeing things like literal active businesses that have been around twice as long as the United States have been in existence, right? I mean, you know, businesses that have been operating in that location, in that building for 500 years, right? It's like, it's incredible. It's the history is just absolutely incredible. And it reminds you so much, like how, you know, well, there's a lot that it reminds you about how young we are as a nation, and as how young the American sort of experiment is still.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you know, how in such a short period of time we've managed to botch it so well. So yeah, there's that.
We're doing a great job at messing it up.
We really are.
Absolutely,
We really
we are. We are.
If somebody said, here's
tremendous.
the plan to screw everything up, I think it would look very much like what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's been super fun.
Yeah,
Keeping up with the
super
news.
fun.
Super fun keeping up with the news lately,
Yeah.
trying to explain, and we'll talk about it a little bit at the end. But my whole goal right now is just to explain to people that this is one of the largest tax increases in the history of the United States.
It's I think the largest tax.
It's actually technically the second.
Okay.
The second largest, since I think the one we had in 1942 during World War II.
I got
was the largest, because we needed the funds so that we could build all these weapons and
okay,
that's
a fair point.
That was it. So like, are we preparing to go to war here?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
In many ways. I don't know if you've heard, there's this menacing country up top of us called Canada.
Oh God.
They need to be invaded.
The dumbery that I'm trying to correct. It's just that people just understand this is economics 101.
Maybe that's the title of this week's show is taxes. The dumbery.
Tariffs are taxes, folks.
Yeah.
We pay them. Get ready for lots of extra. That's fine. Whatever. I won't get political. Anyways, what do we got going on?
We got a good show. We have a really fun show. This is going to be a good one. As I said to you when I sent over the script, this is gold, Jerry. This is gold.
It's gold.
We got some fun stuff here. We're going to start with our big story, which of course is TikTok. The clock is ticking. People forgot, and now Saturday is the deadline. And we'll talk about what's going on with the TikTok ban, and some surprising new entrants have entered the chat, including Amazon for whatever that's worth. Then we'll talk about the fact that Elon basically has pulled a fast one with regard to Twitter, and purchased his own company from himself, which is just a very weird thing. But we'll talk about what that might actually look like and mean for the social media platform. Then we'll talk a little bit about how authors are really upset over Meta's use of AI, and really upset over what's going on with the way that they scanned all the books that are out there, including ours, of course. And this coincides with ChatGPT's launch of the new image creator, which is just amazing, mind-blowing. Yeah, it's mind-blowing. But how they maybe have ripped off some of the movie studios out there in terms of their look. Then we'll get to our winners and losers. I'm going to talk about the loser that is this new thing called vibe marketing, and why it's more of a rant really than anything else, but we'll talk about that. You'll talk about Hooters, which I think that's awesome, and their bankruptcy.
You always want,
Sometimes the jokes just write themselves.
You've been waiting 473 episodes
to talk about Hooters.
About Hooters.
Yes, and then I will rave about Chris Ross, my friend from Gartner, who wrote an amazing piece that I just want to rave a little bit about. And then you will provide some commentary around tariffs, and we'll end the show with talking about tariffs and what that means for marketing.
Specific to marketing. Yeah, specific to marketing and what's going on in marketing. You got it.
This is one that you want to listen to the whole episode, folks, because it's going to be fun and good and plenty of dumbery.
Unlike all those other episodes that are not fun and boring. This one's got to be fun and good. Thank you for that clarification.
There it is. I try and call the balls and strikes as I see them, my friend. It's like that's what we're trying to do.
And that's why we're gonna have robo umpires soon. The same exact.
Have you seen the new thing that they're doing in the UFL with the computerized automation of first down markers? Like, they don't use the refs don't say it anymore. They can basically within like a millimeter, they can pinpoint where the ball was, and they're using that now to mark first down.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That'll save a lot of time during the game too. Totally. Because, although I used to love it when you had 17 referees come out and you had to hold the chain and somebody had to measure it, somebody had to replace the ball. That was very exciting.
Or the famous, and this was a Dallas Cowboys and Oakland Raiders game where they had the index card first down. So the Cowboys theoretically, it was very close to a first down. They brought out the chains, and you couldn't even really tell. So the ref took an index card out of his pocket, tried to slip it between the ball and the chain, and couldn't get his index card to go through without moving the ball, and then basically called it a first down. Yeah.
And then the opposing coach says, "No, the paperweight, that's way too. You need this index card."
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You need a 40 weight, not a 60. Okay, whatever.
Good times.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. Let's open up with talking about TikTok. The clock is ticking. We should have a song for this. Anyway, so we'll link to a couple of stories here. The first one from the New York Times, which says this was breaking news yesterday, actually, that said Amazon is said to make a bid to buy TikTok in the U.S. The e-commerce giant, the news article opens up by saying, put in a last-minute offer for the popular video app, according to 3 people familiar with the talks. There's only 3, folks. 3 people. Oh man,
Don't you normally say multiple sources?
Yeah, the dumbery here just gets. TikTok faces a Saturday deadline to change its ownership structure. Amazon has put in this last-minute bid to acquire all of TikTok, the popular video app, as it approaches an April deadline to be separated from its Chinese owner or face a ban in the United States, according to 3 people familiar with the bid. Various parties who have been involved in the talks do not appear to be taking Amazon's bid seriously, the people said. The bid came in an offer letter addressed to Vice President J.D. Vance, because, of course, that's exactly who you want to reach out to, that intellectual powerhouse.
He's leading the effort. Because he knows TikTok better than anyone else.
The dumbery continues. And Howard Lutnick, the dumbery even more continues, the Commerce Secretary, according to a person trusted on this matter. Amazon's bid highlights the 11th hour maneuvering in Washington over TikTok's ownership. The other article that we will link to, which is from CNN, which basically covers a little bit more about what we know at this particular point, who the current investors, the Frank McCourt is still, hot and heavy looking at that. That article opens up by saying basically something that is just very odd to me. The article opens up by saying TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is on the hook to sell the app's U.S. operation by April 5th, after President Donald Trump extended the deadline in January or face a ban in the United States. No, they're not on the hook to do anything. They're not on the hook to do anything. They don't have to do anything here.
No, they do not.
And that's what amazes me, and I would love to get your take on this, because when I see all these news articles basically saying, Trump and the Trump administration and J.D. Vance, they're all going to decide who basically gets to acquire and put the investor group together. And basically they're all going to decide who gets TikTok. And it's like, no. They don't get to decide anything other than basically what they think should happen. ByteDance gets to decide everything here, whether or not they want to sell or not. And I don't know. I have not seen anything, but has anybody bothered to ask ByteDance, like, hey, are you even interested in selling this stuff off? Because we come back to what we talked about even 6 months ago, which is, what are they even buying, right? Because they're certainly not going to give them the algorithm. The law basically states that it has to be separate. And it's just crazy to me that, I mean, it looks like nothing's going to happen, I guess, is my point. What do you think?
Well, I mean, just real quickly on the Amazon thing, brilliant move if Amazon could because TikTok will be the most dominant e-commerce platform on the planet next to Amazon. It makes, from an e-commerce standpoint, nothing sells more stuff as easily as TikTok does. I think that's brilliant. And one of the reasons why Jeff Bezos was standing next to Donald Trump at inauguration. I mean, if you look at what's happening right now, very strategic on the parts of these big tech players. They want for this type of thing, because Mr. Trump has said himself that he is making this decision. Now, to your point, who is he talking to?
Right.
At ByteDance or in China? It seems like nobody. It seems like this got set on the back burner for a while because maybe tariffs and other things are going on. They haven't escalated the TikTok issue to its highest priority. So I think this will, my opinion of what's going to happen. And by the way, it's 11:30 on the 3rd right now, Eastern time, as we talk about this.
That's right.
Maybe there's a done deal by the time we go live tomorrow. I don't know what's going on, but I think that this is going to be lengthened again. They're going to put another 14 days on this thing or something to get something done. But I think that TikTok has a lot of power at this point, because you're right.
Well, they have
don't
all
to
the
do anything.
leverage. They have
Yeah.
all the leverage.
They don't have to do anything.
I mean,
What do they care about
right.
being if they go dark? If this thing goes into effect, and Google and Apple will get into
pull it from the
trouble
store
if they-
again. Right.
the users of TikTok, you're going to have 100 million Americans be really, really upset.
That's
and
right.
A lot of businesses that survive on TikTok be super upset. So
That's right. That's right. Now, here's the thing. The last time this happened, they basically came back and sort of, when Trump did the extension, basically right off of the inauguration, they came back with a message saying, thank you, President Trump, for helping us, stay extended and all this kind of stuff. And it was, basically, them.
That was, as you put it, that was theater.
Yeah, it was all theater.
They never had to take.
No.
TikTok took themselves down.
That's right.
Then put themselves up, and then
That's
whatever. Right. And now, the biggest issue,
which is what I would like to see again. In other words, on Saturday,
what
would be interesting would be that TikTok takes itself out of play, basically turns itself off for the U.S.
Yep.
and basically says, okay, yeah, fine, we're out. We've checked out. We'll come back when you figure your shit out. So it's like it's what baffles me is that and why it's so amazing to me that there's not a lot of media covering this, the sort of details here, right? So I have seen everything from, well, maybe ByteDance gets a 20%. I think it's a 19.9% because basically the foreign entity, as far as the law is concerned, says it can own no more than 1/5 of the organization. But is that 1/5 of the U.S. organization? Fine. But then the key is that, but it has to remain completely separate. In other words, it can't be TikTok. It has to be Schmick or something like that, or ustiktok.com or something. It has to be
us.tiktok.com.
It has to be a completely separate entity, which means that the algorithm can't be shared, nor can. So it would have to be a completely new venture with a new thing. And does that mean that, all these devils are in the details, right? Does that mean if I have an account and I'm in US, automatically my account goes to the US TikTok version? And how would that migration happen? And what would happen to my security, my password, my username, which of course, is all, there's so many things here. It cannot happen before Saturday. Any sort of meaningful.
These things are complex.
Yeah.
These things are complex. The one thing that I want to say, and I've said it a million times, but it's worth repeating, I think. President Trump, first term, was the one that really got behind, we need to ban TikTok. For whatever reasons he came up with, he did that. Recently, he's come back, and this was said a couple months ago. This is, quote, in January. Trump says, is it that important for China to be spying on young people, on kids watching crazy videos? He basically said, I don't care. I don't care if China spies on them. And I've been a proponent of the fact that TikTok and the changing of sentiment and the possible manipulation of our young kids is a thing. And I was very concerned by that. And that's why I always pushed out. I think we should ban it. I think there's a problem here. But now, not so much. Not so much. He just like, oh, okay, they're my American friends now are interested in buying this thing, and I will help make it happen. And if it'll help me in my tariff battle or some other battles, I'll make that go. So just whatever happens here, just don't think that the president actually cares about our children.
No, right.
He said not.
Well, I think he said explicitly, although he may have mentioned this, it's kind of hard to keep all of the crazy quotes straight, but I believe I read in one article that talked about the fact that he said he might ease tariffs on China if China were to play ball here on
gets a better deal. They'll get a better deal. He's using the tariffs. By the way, 54% tariffs on China now.
Oh my God.
Which is almost like full stop.
That's that's like Bugs Bunny cartoon silly. I mean, that's just like, really? Okay, fine. 54%. I mean, good Lord.
Do you remember the scene from Ferris Bueller when they were talking about what was it? The Smoot
The Smoot Hawley Act.
Hawley,
Yeah.
the Smoot Hawley, and basically that was it. The Smoot
Yeah.
Hawley Act. And there's a whole scene in that where he said Bueller.
Yeah,
And they talks about the Smoot Hawley.
right.
That didn't work either. Tariffs
Yeah.
didn't work either.
It didn't work then,
Yeah.
and it's not going to work now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Fantastic.
I think we're glad we solved that.
Yeah. Well, there you have
It'll
it.
go on. This is going to go on.
Hey,
more theater.
You know what we should do is right now, instead of let's just pay some bills. Let's just pay our bills.
Just do what we say.
Do what we do.
Pay some bills. Okay, here you go.
You don't become the world's most valuable women's sports franchise by accident. Angel City Football Club did it with a little help from HubSpot. When they started, data was housed across multiple systems. HubSpot unified their website, their email marketing, and fan experience into one platform. This allowed their small team of 3 to build an entire website in just 3 days. The results? Nearly 350 new signups a week and 300% database growth in just 2 years. You want to kick off some great marketing? Visit HubSpot.com to hear how HubSpot can help you grow better. Are you ready for the next wave of AI? Let me introduce you to a podcast, The Next Wave, your Chief AI Officer, hosted by Matt Wolf and Nathan Lands, and it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network. You can catch The Next Wave with Matt and Nathan. They are leading AI creators who are your guiding light in the AI and technology frontier. AI technology is transforming the way we do business, and The Next Wave, well, it strives to be a leading podcast on AI technology and how you can apply it to your growing business. Listen to The Next Wave wherever you follow your favorite podcasts.
I was digging that groove.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
like that.
Yeah, both those. I like the sort of heavy metal one that we did for the HubSpot ad. I thought that was totally fun.
Very appropriate. I actually, I love women's soccer.
Yeah.
I think that
I picked that.
We really wanted. We were really trying to get one here in Cleveland, a women's soccer franchise. We just haven't quite got it yet, but we've been trying for the last couple of years. So
yeah, it was totally fun to put that one together over the weekend.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Now we have to talk about we're obligated to talk about Elon Musk in every episode per our contract.
You know what? We do we still have the musky scent? We don't have the musky scent, do we?
No, we don't have. We probably should. Why don't we create a musky scent? Like, I don't have any good musky scent music. I don't.
There we go.
The musky scent. The scent that's going to drive you wild. You can't get enough of Leon.
Leon. That's good. That's good. Oh my God.
Well, we'll have to make
I might have to use AI to create an ad for that.
do it.
Okay.
Do it with, I know you can't use AC/DC, but do it like an AC/DC.
Sure. Yeah,
Like
there you go.
That can.
I
would like that. Okay.
All right. This story is going to come to us courtesy of the Wall Street Journal, which I have been on the hunt for an article to explain this thing to me. And I'm hoping maybe you can explain this to me like I'm 5 years old, because I still don't get it. So here's the headline: Elon Musk's mega deal. Is it a mega deal? Okay. A mega deal between X and XAI breaks Wall Street's rule book. The article opens up by saying the tech titan can follow his own rules when he's combining 2 companies he owns, but the merger is still raising deal-maker eyebrows. Elon Musk struck what could be considered the biggest deal of the year, and he broke all the normal rules. His splashy merger of the social media company X, formerly known as Twitter, of course, and his artificial intelligence startup XAI values the combined company at over $110 billion. That would be a blockbuster deal on Wall Street, but this one is unorthodox even by Musk's standards for a whole host of reasons. The valuation was surprising, and so was how the companies got there. Only one set of advisors worked for both sides when a deal of this size would normally take armies. In short, the unusual process resulted in a mega deal few public companies could get away with. The deal consists of a $33 billion price tag for X, alongside an $80 billion valuation for XAI. The new $80 billion valuation figures for XAI is a big jump from just 4 months ago when the company was valued at $50 billion in its last fundraising. Math is not my strong suit, but this is just weird.
Dumb.
The new level was set as part of merger talks, not in a new funding round. It's funny money, said Andrew Verstein, professor of law at University of California. It's like using Monopoly money to buy Pokemon cards.
That's the line of the year right there.
Okay.
I love that guy.
So can you explain this to me? Like why? I mean, I think I understand why he would do this, but do you grok why, and forgive the pun there, I did not mean that. I mean, the fact that he's taken over that word, and I love that word, is annoying to me. But anyway, do you understand why he's doing this?
No, I don't understand why, but if I had to make an educated guess, which may be wrong, it would be that he has a lot of money in on the X side that's underwater, because it was valued at a $44 billion valuation. And you and I have talked about this. It could have been anywhere from 10 billion or less. So it makes up a lower number, but brings that up a little bit because of this value of XAI, so that now the Fidelities and the other VCs and angels and whatever that were in on that original deal can put down some kind of a real number based on what it's valued at. And they get this benefit of XAI, which is not worth $80 billion, which is it's mamby-pamby land, just making stuff up.
But do the owners, do people like the banks and the investors who put up the loan money, do they get paid? Do they get a check, or do they get shares in now, or do they get ownership shares in XAI?
No, I think they have to, and somebody correct us if we're wrong here.
Yeah,
I think they have to reconcile every quarter or a year on the value of that investment. And that value has been going down. And you have to look at it. Well, how much is our investment in X? How much is it? Is it less? Is it less? So gets revalued all the time. Now it can be revalued, and theoretically because you valued it at a higher number, it's fake value because they just did it themselves. The advisors on both sides were the same advisors.
Yeah.
They're doing a deal with it's like, I hate to say it, it's corporate masturbation. It's exactly what they did.
Right.
So this is just, and he's able to do it because he's Elon Musk, and there's no governmental oversight here that's going to change anything. And now they can ask for more money at a higher valuation because they made up these numbers and put it together on $110 billion.
So if I got this right, let me put it in words that I understand, and you tell me if I'm right here. This would be like, so back in the day when we were trying to figure out CMI and growing and acquisitions and all that kind of stuff, we acquired a thing called the Intelligent Content Conference, which ostensibly was just an event. And so the one asset that they had was the database, right? Was the database and the list. That was the big asset that organization had. And when we acquired that, we basically said, okay, CMI is this. Intelligent Content Conference is an email list, basically, and there's some level of brand value or whatever, but basically the one asset that we're acquiring is the list for Intelligent Content Conference. And we're going to merge these two things together. And now we're going to be, a little more valuable as an organization because we'll have an event now and a product called Intelligent Content Conference that is owned by Content Marketing Institute. The equivalent here would be if we had done that and then basically said, now, with the acquisition of Intelligent Content Conference, CMI is now worth twice as much money as it was before. And we gave some astronomical, just pulled it out of thin air, astronomical valuation because the synergies between the two organizations were so big that it just basically made us worth $1 billion. Am I getting that generally correct?
I think you could make some of that case. You could say because of the value of the one company and you purchased a company, let's say, wasn't as worth as much or lagging or whatever, and then because of the merger it's worth more.
Sure,
I think that's the case they're trying to make, but they're not doing it on any dollars and cents, revenue, cost, EBITDA.
Well, right.
They're not doing it.
We're just making it up, right?
They're doing it on.
They're just making it up.
This is what we feel. And by the way, this is the market we're in right now, because if you just look at government regulation right now, on the corporate side, there is none. Right. It is the wild, wild west. So not only, by the way, this is really good to know because Elon can do this, and so can every other tech company out there right now.
This is why I think it's worth discussing, right? Because if this is the environment we're now in, where are the guardrails on any company?
There are none.
Just
There are none.
doing exactly this.
Which it's a great point. Let's bring this back to marketing and the event
Right.
space and M&A. If you are a buyer, right now is a wonderful time. Go buy your stuff. Likelihood of a recession aside, there's not going to be any scrutiny for you buying media companies, newsletter, podcasts, whatever. Nobody's going to scrutinize that.
Yeah.
So you have carte blanche to do whatever you want at this point, which you might not have in 2 years. So that's where you might see some really wonky mergers and acquisitions happen because they can, because nobody is there to say, that doesn't seem right. Like, is that fair?
Right.
There's no fair anymore. There just is what it is.
Yeah.
And this is the environment we're in. So yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Never seen it before in my life.
Yeah, it's really,
we're getting old.
Right? Well, the dumbery continues, right? The dumbery continues here. And by the way, the next story is just in that same sort of idea here. We're going to combine two stories together to talk about the fact that there's been a couple of different things happening on the creative side of the world here. So the first story that we'll link to here is around authors. And this coming from the Authors Guild, although there are a number of places that are covering this. And basically, and a lot of our colleagues have been posting this on LinkedIn and other places as well. Meta's massive AI training book heist is the headline from the Authors Guild. What authors need to know. And basically it said today, this was a week and a half ago now, The Atlantic published a search tool that allows authors to check if their works are in LibGen, basically an illegal pirate site AI companies copied for their AI systems. This is a similar tool to the one that journalist Alex Reisner previously made available for the Book 3 AI training dataset last year. But this new list has more than 7.5 million books that were copied, at least in part, if not in full, by Meta and other AI companies for their AI systems. It's not clear whether Meta downloaded and used every book in LibGen. And basically, you can go to this system, type in your author name or the title of the book, and voila, you see if your book was there. I did it for our books, and 3 of my 4 books, the most recent one is not there, but every other book is.
Same with
and
me.
Did you do it for yours?
Every one, even The Will to Die, even my novel's in there.
Wow.
The only one that's not in there is the most recent one. So, which is probably in there too. It's just not there.
I mean, it seems like, and the author, the article goes on to talk about how there's now a class action lawsuit that is going to be coming for Meta and OpenAI and Microsoft and Anthropic and other AI companies for using this data. But it feels like this is, I think it was mid 24, mid last year or early last year when we were constantly talking about all the lawsuits that were happening, from the New York Times to Disney to, all these companies that were suing the AI companies. Have any of those resulted in any sort of judgment one way or the other on fair use? And
not that I'm aware of, no significant.
Yeah, I haven't seen
judgment.
anything that. So this feels like, kind of like the AI companies are going, yeah, come at me, bro.
Well,
right? I mean, they're like, we don't care.
Here's my question. Correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm getting out of line. We should be upset. We should be maybe disappointed, but I am surprised by the surprise of
right. Well, there's some of that for sure.
That are like, oh my God, I can't believe that these big tech companies are stealing our content. But they've been doing that forever.
Yeah.
And what it is this is the thought when I read this article. I thought of Superman 3. When Richard Pryor's character makes the big AI robot and it needs more and more energy. Remember that? And it starts to just grab onto anything possible.
Yeah.
Folks, this is AI training. When it starts training on data, as much as it can get, it's really hungry. And as it gets more content to feed on, it gets hungrier, and it will go and reach out into the dark web, into anything to feed itself. And that's where we're at right now.
Right.
And it will go into illegal sources, into the worst possible content possible in order to educate itself, to become smarter than us and ultimately dominate the world. But we're not there yet. I guess it's the surprise. I mean, by the way, the article that we will put in the show notes, there is a remedy. You can send a nasty gram to the powers that did this. I guess in this case it was Meta, but they've all probably done it. I don't know. What's your take? Is this something where just kind of like Google indexed our site and we're like, oh, we can't do it, even though?
Well, I think it's a really interesting question, right? Because when I've sat down to think about this and put some real quality thinking into this idea, it's like when I think about what Google did, right? When they indexed the web, basically, the indexed the publicly available things that were out there, including, by the way, their and which did go to the Supreme Court, the whole idea of them scanning all the books, right? When they did their big giant book scanning, where they literally physically scanned 1 million books, or millions of books, I should say, and put that into the Google index as well. And that became what Google Books is, basically. Yeah. And all of that was found to be general fair use, right? And the interesting thing to me is that I can agree with that, because the idea is that when you search on Google, that information is available to you. So it's literally like it is a search engine, right? It is a find engine. You are finding the original content. So putting all of that into one corpus, one giant, system, one giant index, and making that available to everybody. And then, we can argue about the ethics of monetizing that with advertising, et cetera. But I think generally speaking, the idea is making that available for free is a good service and access to information, but it's access to the original information itself, which is, you get source to the author, you get source to the idea. Here, there's a layer, right? The layer is that what we're seeing is the use of our content, like our books, plus our colleagues, Mark Schaefer and Ann Hanley, and, so many others' books being pulled into create new derivative works, right, out of it. And so when you start talking about that, it becomes a different case for me. And the idea of what that's perfectly encapsulated in this, the new ChatGPT's image creator, which, if you haven't used it, is unbelievably good. I mean, they have fixed everything regarding spelling.
That's saying something, because you've been hard on that. I mean, you've
been
negative on it. This is the first time you're coming out and saying that this is something special.
It still doesn't really know how to do hands correctly, and makes your hands look like seal flippers and stuff like that. But the idea of the spelling, right? The joke was that it didn't know how to spell. That the image creator didn't know anything. You would be like, get rid of the text, please, because it just doesn't know how to spell. That is gone. Right? Use cases where people are like, I want a whiteboard, and on the left-hand side, I want this paragraph, and on the right-hand side, I want this paragraph, and I want a woman in front of the whiteboard wearing a t-shirt that says this with our logo, and here we upload the logo. And basically it comes back and it's 100% accurate. And it's really spooky how good it is. The key is that, and what's making the rounds as memes, is the fact that Ghibli Art Studio, which is a very famous sort of anime, basically an art studio made very famous by an animator. The style is very specific style. You may remember it from, remember the original Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit cartoons from the 1970s? That was Ghibli. And so that style, you can now create, and I did it. I actually went through and I said, hey, create me. And I uploaded a picture of my headshot. I said, create me in the Ghibli art style. And it was amazing. I mean, it was unbelievable. So it's not even, it's that now we have the ability to duplicate a particular art style, which I know can't be copyrighted. You can't copyright a style, but the fact that it has, there's an interesting idea here of derivative works being created based on the idea of a proprietary method of creating something. Our books, Ghibli art style, those kinds of things. To me, that's a little funky. And I'm not smart enough to know what ultimately philosophically the right answer is. But I think as a culture, we're starting to make the decision that, yeah, we're getting smarter AI out of it, so all is fine, right? And I'm not sure that's the right decision. I'm not sure it's not, but I'm not sure it's the right decision either. It's a very fraught with philosophy. You know, when you start thinking about things like AI safety, you start to remember that this is kind of what they were talking about.
I am so torn by all of this.
Yeah.
Because I agree that to be the great marketers and creators we want to be, that we have to understand what's going on in AI. At the same time, I'm under full awareness that, let's say in 2 years, that this podcast, you and I, like we're in video together right now. I'm talking to you. We have our own quirks, the way we talk, things we think about, things we bring up. I think they can be 99.9% duplicated in 2 years. Maybe less. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. It concerns me. I just got off the phone with a media guy. We were talking about what the future is, and we're talking about AI. And I said, by 28, like all this stuff, you're gonna maybe sooner. You're gonna be able to be duplicated. That's where we're at. It's that smart. We don't even. You're talking about this amazing art and design that's happening, which is nothing compared to what we're going to see. I don't know where to stand on it besides just, barking at the moon. I really don't.
Yeah. You know, and a lot of it comes back to the, it wasn't a Christensen quote, but it often gets attributed to Christian, which is you may hate gravity, but gravity doesn't care.
Yep.
And it may be that, right? It's just maybe this is where we're headed is an inevitability, and it's not even a question of whether or not it's going to happen. The question is going to how are we going to react to it? Like, how are we actually going to manage this? And this, I went on a rant on this last week, right? About the sort of the tech bro, our race, the race to make the tools more and more powerful is the interesting thing. You've seen the memes going around where basically people are saying stuff like, hey, we've got, AI is replacing our ability to do creative art, creative video, creative writing, creative this. And what I want is for it to do laundry and do dishes and do my homework so that I can actually have time to do the creative, all this kind of stuff. But the reasoning behind the focus where the AI companies themselves, all of the models are focused in on replacing the creative aspects of it is because that's the most impressive. Right. That's where you get sort of the growth oriented mindset of this is what will sell more licenses, is if we can help people do this, not if we can help people manage their finances a little easier or manage this a little easier. People don't want that. They want the stuff that's going to make pretty pictures and it's going to help them do memes and it's going to help them. And the idea here is that from a moral standpoint, we've talked about this before, that the tech companies now, they're not immoral, they're amoral, right? They're not operating with any sense of morality at all, positive or negative. They're just basically saying what will add money to the bottom line, which is unfortunate because we are the product in that particular case. Our thoughts, our dreams, our creativity is the product, and it's worth a conversation.
The should we has gone out the window.
Yeah.
That's the issue. And what was, if you go into is it pronounced Ghibli?
I believe so. I can't remember if it's soft G or hard G.
Since that came out, ChatGPT gained over 1 million subscribers.
Yes, that's exactly
so you could feel a certain way about it, but OpenAI says, hey, we did that. Look, we got that.
Yeah.
Let's do more of that.
Yeah.
More of this, no that.
Just give us more compute.
Oh,
here we go. All right, let's get before we run out of time here. Let's get to our winners and losers, where Joe and I pick a loser from the last week of marketing or a winner from the last week of marketing. Would you like to go first with your Hooters story? Because I'm fascinated to hear this.
I actually have a question for you on this one. I'm going to explain what happened. I don't get this. This is
Okay.
why Hooters is my loser. Hooters filed for bankruptcy. The hope is, in this case of a bankruptcy, is that Hooters restructures itself and comes out fresher. It's happened before.
Yeah.
We know of bankruptcies that if you go under, you restructure, you leaner, you change something, and hopefully you come out better and can serve your customers. So they filed for bankruptcy and they said that their goal is to become more family friendly. And I'm like, does that have anything to do with the
Yeah.
Hooters brand?
Yeah.
I would say, don't we, especially today, don't we double down? Don't we double down on what's made Hooters one of the greatest locations for diners to go to? And I haven't been there in a long time.
You just did that, didn't you? With double down. You just went
I
there.
know.
Right? You just had to go there.
I'm just saying, let's look at this as marketing and branding experts.
Yeah. Okay.
You say it's not working before, whatever. It's a lot of reasons why it didn't work. So we're gonna go family friend. What are we going up against? Applebee's?
Yeah.
Chili's? We want the family to gather around and have a nice meal, a chicken tender salad. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? I would probably say let's reanalyze what
Yeah.
made Hooters great in the first place. I'm not quite sure, but let's just say, and go forward that way. I just think this has got the big L loser written all over it. I think they're headed the wrong direction. They might as well just close all the stores at this point.
Yeah. This reeks of a McKinsey or
Yes.
a Bain or BCG or somebody going in there and sending a bunch of consultants in there and saying we need to revisit our business model and our brand because we're losing market share and we can't survive. And so there's somewhere, I guarantee you somewhere there is a 200 slide PowerPoint that explains in detail why this is a good idea.
What they would have been better off doing is say, okay, well, let's reimagine the new Hooters. Let's take what's made Hooters great, whatever that is, and let's add gambling to it. Let's do it. Let's do Hooters /
Well, that would have been the thing to do, right? That would have been the thing to do the Buffalo Wild Wings kind of idea, right? To get in bed with all of the gambling things and the sports bar and that whole thing. That to me would have been the right way to go.
Yeah, if you're going to focus on something, let's just go down that path and let's commit to it. They're not committing to it. They're gonna lose. They're gonna lose. Okay.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I want to talk very briefly because I want to get to our rants and raves here, but I want to talk about a loser that I'm seeing a lot more. I mean, speaking of AI, is this thing that's called vibe marketing. Have you heard about this thing called vibe marketing?
I've heard of vibe coding. We talked about it 2 weeks ago.
So that's what's coming out, right? So vibe coding basically is there's products out there called like Replit and stuff like that, where ostensibly you just type in what you want and then the AI creates the code for the thing you want and you can sort of build apps and it's called vibe coding. Well, you're seeing a lot of the AI and venture and basically the Silicon Valley crowd come out and say, hey, there's a new thing now called vibe marketing, which is ostensibly using agentic AI, sort of the AI agents, autonomous agents, where the promise seems to be basically this following with all of these sort of, tech bro sort of posts out there, which basically say, now one person, although it's unclear about why you would even need one person to do this, if like why do you need anybody in marketing if this is all run by robots? But basically one person can command all these robots to go out there and buy media, create the content for the media, create the iterations, personalize the content, come back to you with, predictive analytics about what's going to work, and then automatically optimize for the conversion rate and basically run an entire marketing engine with no human oversight at all. It's just vibe marketing. You just sort of feed it what you're feeling, what you need, what's going on, the quote unquote strategy, and vibe marketing will take care of the rest. And it's just so silly and so ridiculous. And so, the idea here, what it reminds me of is the hype that came around when agile marketing became sort of coming out of agile development, right? Which was, well, because it's good for coding, it must be good for marketing, right? And so
course.
We tried to apply agile development, which is a very well understood and very understood practice of development of software, and basically apply it directly to the head of marketing. And it didn't work, right? Most agile marketing initiatives fail. And the reason they fail is because marketing is not code. Marketing does not compile. Marketing isn't a right or wrong answer. And in many cases, the mushy middle of marketing, where you're kind of right about a campaign or things sort of work, those are the most insightful campaigns, because it impels you, or basically inspires you to go to that next creative thing. And so vibe marketing is the same problem, right? It's the same problem. It's about trying to apply some coding methodology to things that will compile to marketing, which is a mushy middle. It always has been, always will be. It always will be half art, half science, and try to apply this sort of algorithm to it. So, Joe, so what I have done is I have created my own new marketing methodology. And my marketing methodology is called slow-mo marketing. And by slow-mo marketing, basically, you've got a cool Slack integration. I'm launching a new product that's going to be called Think Tank, which is basically, it pings you once a week to say, hey, should we still be doing this campaign? And then I'm going to launch another calendar plugin called Delayer, 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 right? It's going to auto push any content that doesn't have a clear point of view or a clear brand by. Then I got another AI tool that I'm launching called the Muse. It basically refuses to generate content until it sits for 24 hours and decides what we're going to do. Then I got another one called Gut Check. It's an analytics tool that basically says, hey, no metrics on this? Don't worry about it. You don't need metrics on this. We'll just make a dashboard of fake numbers. And then all of this is going to go into my slow-mo methodology, which is all going to be about speed fatigue, right? We're moving so fast. We just need to move a lot slower. And so not slightly slower, really slow. We're going to be calling it slow-mo, the new marketing methodology from Robert Rose.
You know what? I think it's a winner.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's got legs. That's got legs similar to Hooters coming out of bankruptcy.
There you go.
It's so, you're right. This is so silly.
It's
How
just
did we
ridiculous.
get here? How did we get here?
Yeah. You know
what I miss? I miss like Vine or Google Plus.
Exactly.
Remember we used to just have episodes talking about Google Plus?
Yeah, exactly. Making our circles of friends.
Oh my God. Or LO. Remember LO?
Oh, LO. Yeah.
LO.
Yeah.
We loved you so
I used to get LO updates. Like I would get this random email, like every 6 months going, hey, you haven't logged into your LO account. And so it's like, oh, right. That still exists. Yeah. All right. Let's get to our rants and raves section before we get the heck out of here. And this is where Joe and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave that makes us feel like we're in the middle of a Signal chat, talking about bombing somebody, or we're basically on the sidelines and haven't signed up for Signal yet. So would you like to go first? You know what? Let me go first.
You go first.
Because I like ending on your tariffs idea.
Okay.
So I want to do a rave, and my rave is to a friend of mine. His name is Chris Ross. He's the marketing analyst, I'll just say it, the marketing analyst at Gartner, because his thinking, honestly, I've followed Chris for a number of years. And he's just one of the true blue flame thinkers out there when it comes to marketing and process. And he wrote a piece and sent it to me. And this piece was basically on effective brand positioning. And it was, he watched the show, but last week when we talked about, the purpose of brands and those sorts of things. And he said, hey, I think you might like this. And so he sent this to me, and it's just awesome. Like the piece goes into this idea of where brands very much too often talk about this idea of, not knowing why or how that they're actually going, the piece argues that there's something really deceptively simple here, which is if you don't know where your brand stands, like if you don't have your brand foundation of where it stands ideologically, operationally, you can't meaningfully move it forward. And I just think that's such an important message for us to hear these days, with where companies sit, especially those that are in growth mode or in mid-size mode that are trying to, figure out what they do. It's not just this vibe, right? It's not just an ideological sort of feeling or emotion. You have to basically take your brand and create purpose behind it. And, it's not about just defining a mission statement or something like that. As he talks about it, it pushes it a lot deeper and says, you've got to have this framework. And he actually outlines this framework for having this brand ideology commitment, like a commitment from the company of the integration of what it is we believe out there. And it was just a fabulous piece. And, Gartner going to Gartner, right? It hasn't been available to us to be able to look at it. So, I won't throw.
Why you Gartnered?
Yeah,
What?
Gartner
What
going
you
to
talking
Gartner.
about, Gartner?
So I wish it was available to everybody to read, but if you're a client, you can go get it. But what I would encourage you to do, and we'll link to this in the show notes, is go follow Chris. Go follow Chris. He's just so smart when it comes to CMO, marketing leadership, and the importance of teams, which is such a big passion of mine right now, marketing teams and the investment in marketing teams. So he's just a great guy, very, very, very smart. And I wanted to rave about his piece.
Awesome. Chris is
Yeah.
smart stuff.
Yeah.
And I wish we could get the report for ourselves.
I do too. I wish we could.
We cannot. But you know who got it? Meta has already rigged that thing with AI. I guarantee you.
Bingo.
I guarantee you. They got it like immediately. Okay.
Yep.
So my commentary is just more of a public service announcement for marketers and creators out there. So you know what we need to do because of Liberation Day. And if you're not familiar with Liberation Day was 4/2.
Yeah.
Actually 4/2. That's the anniversary when we started.
Don't you know he wanted to do it on 4/1? Like but he recognized that there's no way they could do that without being seen as a joke, right?
But I just want so people know the president and the president's regime put a number of tariffs out there against all the countries and whatever kind of math formula that they use to get this done. But for example, I think you said Vietnam is like 40% now. China's 54%. These really unwieldy tariffs. The most important thing to get out of this, besides the fact that the average American family is going to be spending $4,000 to $6,000 more in 2025 and beyond, because this is the second largest tax increase to the American people in history. It's a tax increase on us. We all have to pay for it, businesses included. But what I want to talk about is this is going to significantly hamper marketing spending, because as you and I have talked about this for eons, marketing is very similar to the financial markets. Marketing likes certainty, any kind of certainty. And when there's uncertainty going on in the world, budgets are held back. So if you are a marketer, you need to prepare the fact that the things that you had budgeted for 2025 are probably going to go on hold or be cut, especially if you've seen what the havoc's going on in the stock market. It's a bloodbath out there, and because we're not getting any more certain. This is more uncertainty. I'm a more uncertainty. And even if it isn't, we're seeing structural changes that will happen over years, not months. This is a big issue. This is something that I've never seen before, and we have to adapt to it as marketers and creators. So there's just going to be less spending. That means for marketers, focus on what's most important to you right now, and make sure that you have the numbers that you need to keep those things going.
Yeah.
If you are a content creator, you have customers out there, you need to do a better job with your communications than you ever had before, because consumers are going to need to make choices on who they're going to fund and who they're not going to fund, and businesses as well.
Yeah.
So this is a really, really, I know you and I, Robert and I, we made a lot of fun about a lot of people today, but this is a super serious time. This is maybe more serious than where we were at the end of the Great Recession. Really trying to figure out how to come out of that. We're going into a period certainly looking like we're going into a recession right now. It doesn't look like it's going to be a bounce back. I hope it is. I hope it's a shallow recession. I hope we come right back. I hope that because of this, the Fed decreases rates significantly. We get a lot of liquidity and the banks don't go under. I'm hoping that's the case, but I can't say that for sure. And I think we need to prepare.
Yeah, I think it's good advice. And the only sort of, what I've been doing of late is asking myself. It was something I learned in one of my masterminds, which I really value. And somebody said, in fact, he's an investor. And he said to me, he said, one of the things that we need to remember to do in times like this is to ask ourselves, what can go right? Like what might go right?
Love that question.
And so one of the things that as I've been putting more and more thought into this, one of the things that could go right here is that content, organic, efficient means of creating our owned media could see an injection of effort or budget, if you will, because if like you say, marketing spending is going to be affected by this, then everything points to moving away from as much paid media, right, which is a direct cost, and we can assimilate that cost, and it's an easy thing to sort of chop down. But what ends up happening is that how do we actually continue to operate and attract business and do the things that we have to do? And organic, social, organic content, owned media, getting more efficient with our operations and marketing, which is largely around content, could see sort of an increased value. And so if you're focused on that, perhaps this is where to begin to double down, is to get efficient around your organic outreach and search engine and AI optimization and all those kinds of things, so that you can at least mitigate some of the things that are going to happen with paid media and paid promotion and all those kinds of things.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah.
So hold on.
Yeah. It's going to be a bumpy ride,
Hold
but
on. It's going to be all year,
which is a real bummer to me, because I'm super psyched about the future, and I'm super psyched about what all this stuff that seems to be going on sort of outside, right? Even with the disruption of AI and disruption of all that stuff, I'm so bullish on everything else. It's like, I'm so annoying that this chucklehead has come in here and sort of thrown all this for a loop. It's just really, really annoying.
Well, I either say I don't know what the larger vision is, or I'm really scared to find out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's
until then, until then, create stuff that makes an impact on people.
That's it.
Seriously.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
Keep the ones you love close to you. And you try to be as positive as you can and create good stuff.
Yeah. As my grandfather said, what experience have you created for somebody today?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
If we all just did that, all just, how am I going to make somebody else's life
a little better?
I'll leave with this, because I was reading this article on depression, and it said the best thing that you can do for depression is think about helping somebody else.
Yep.
Because you stop thinking about yourself just for a second.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing. And I'm like, well, that's probably the best thing.
Yeah.
Go help somebody who needs it.
Yeah. So. Exactly.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I love that. Was a really uplifting episode.
There you go.
Like
I really want to call it the dumbery. I think that's the dumbery episode. Yep.
The dumbery. I could probably do that. I mean, I name these episodes.
Okay. So here's your task: is to use AI to have it be a scene from Dumb and Dumber, but it's you and me.
Okay.
I can work on that too. I'm going to work on that.
No, that's fine. I have it. I can do it. That'll be my task. You've done enough.
From Dumb and Dumber, but it's Robert and Joe.
Music. I'm gonna the dumbery.
The dumbery. Yeah.
Into the deep.
Into the dumbery.
Dumbery.
That's our name of our new album. Into the dumbery.
Into the dumbery. I like that. That's that actually might sell. That's the name of our music marketing album.
I love it so much.
Into the dumbery.
Into the dumbery.
Anything else I need to know before I split here?
No, go away and I'll close this out. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will be back again with a regular episode next week. And until we see you again, just remember, everybody, it's dumb out there. It's your story. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing. Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.